Hi, Facebook family and friends. I hope you can hear me. I'm trying to do this on my laptop, and I'm not sure whether you can hear me or not. Hopefully, I won't spend an hour talking and nobody hears this. So, um, we're back, the Hatchett Chronicles, and my husband is here with me. And today's topic we want to talk about is finding a significant other. Most of you know that I do not believe in a woman finding a man. The Bible says that when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. So, in other words, I'm not supposed to go looking for a man. I'm not supposed to pray for a man unless he is already my man ordained by God. But I'm not supposed to pray for God to find me a man. I'm not supposed to go hunting for a man. He is supposed to find me, which in my husband's case is what happened. He found me. But this topic came up because there's a lot of us these days that are going into trying to find that significant other. You know, when you get to a certain age, you don't want to grow old alone. You know, you think about things, well, if I get sick, who's going to take care of me? And so some of us starts to, I don't want to use the word get desperate, but some of us that really starts to wear and tear on some of us, so that we want to find someone who we're compatible with, someone we can grow old with. But sometimes we make the awful mistake of being so, letting that wear on us so much that we get somebody that we're not satisfied with, and then we go through a vicious cycle of doing the same thing over and over. For instance, we might not like certain things. For instance, being a woman, some women don't like to cook. They know they don't like to cook, but because they're looking for a man at the time, they start out cooking for that man, just to get a man. And then when they get the man, they go back to their normal self, not cooking or not wanting to cook. And the man is left to look like, what happened? You know, when we first got together, you was cooking all the time. Now you don't cook anymore. And what that is you're doing things just to get a man, but because that's not you, you're not gonna keep it up. So that's not entirely a good thing to do. And if we don't like something, sometimes we will settle for it just so that we can be with that person. But what that is a vicious cycle. What that happens to be is, what happens is that we get with that person and we know that there's something about that person we don't like, but we don't want to be alone. So we put up with it. And then after years, we grow to resent that person and dislike that person, because we were so in a hurry to get to be with, just to have somebody there. My husband has something to say. Yes, sir.
And then with that being said, that person actually want that on themselves, but they tend to push the blame and everything that's wrong with their significant other is because their significant other is the problem, when they never look inside themselves and say, if I never pushed this situation in the first place, this wouldn't be like this.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So you really have to dig deep in yourself. What I said to a friend once is that you have to know yourself and know that other person. And, you know, things are always rosy in the beginning. You know, everybody's on a honeymoon in the beginning. But if you're not real in the beginning, then it's not going to remain rosy. You're not going to be on that honeymoon it's going to be a short period of time. Let's put it that way. My husband and I are on a constant honeymoon. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people in our life that wonder, how are we still on a honeymoon? As a matter of fact, we have a going joke around my house. It's like, is the honeymoon over? Ooh. And no, it's never over. But that's because we were friends first.
That's exactly right.
We were friends first. And another thing is that we were led by God before we got married. And during our marriage, there's nothing in between of us except for God. The only thing that is in between us is God.
But let me intervene. What happens is you meet someone, and sometimes in the back of your mind you settle, right? And you settle so long, or you settle for, settle for a certain amount of time that you forget you're settling. But at the same time, the settling, what happens is it draws a wedge in between the two of you. And by God, if you're not.
Wait, babe. Hey, Val is on. Can you hear us? Can you let me know you can hear us? Because I don't want to do this. We only been on for about 10 minutes, but I don't want to be on and you can't hear us. Well, go ahead, baby. You draw a wedge.
I was just saying, you draw a wedge in between the two of you, and then you wonder why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? When you become friends and you build a relationship off of being friends, that's when it works. If you build a relationship off of lust, that's what it'll be the remainder of the time that you're together. If your relationship starts out with lust, that's what it's going to be the whole time, because there's nothing else in common. It may be you might like a movie in common, or you might like to play cards in common, but the important things as far as the heart is concerned, where the love is coming from and where the do right is coming from, you no longer have that, because you settle for what's in the bed. And there's nothing wrong with meeting a woman or meeting a man and abstaining from sex until you get married, because we did it. It gets hard at times.
It was hard. It was hard, but it was worth it.
But it's worth it, because what you're doing is you're abiding by what God's law says. And as long as you pay attention to what God says, you sit still and listen to God, and He gives you the information. As long as you follow what God says, there's nothing that you can't have. But you just have to humble yourself, be patient. And I mean, we sit around and we'll do everything we can to wait until it's time to watch a fight, wait until it's time to watch a movie. We do whatever we can to wait until it's time to do that. So why can't we wait until we get married to have sex?
And on that note, we as women are emotional. And what happens is when you have sex outside of your marriage, it becomes a habit of, that's the attention you think that you need to show that for the other person to show that he cares. And that's something that I noticed, that I had, and I didn't even realize it until my husband and I got together and we decided to abstain from having sex until we were married. And what I realized is that I didn't feel like, even though he was showing me all the love and all the care, I felt like my way of him caring about me was for us to sleep together, to have that's where I got my attention from. And that's not the case. But you are fooled into believing that. And also,
and the devil will lead you to believe that.
And the devil will lead you to believe that. Also, it's hard to distinguish sometimes, especially if you're looking for that relationship. Exactly. It's hard to distinguish what is real of that relationship and what is about the sex of that relationship. Right. Because if you get somebody, and let's be honest, you have somebody and they're good to you physically, you will forgive a whole lot more other things than you would if you're not getting none. Because when you're not getting any, That's the real. That's all that's there. Is you have to deal with that person and the person's flaws, whether no matter what. There is no feeling to tell you that I'm gonna stick with him because he's good in bed or anything like that. All you have is the pure unadulterated of that person. And that's when you know it's real. And for a man, I know it's hard for men most of the time to abstain, and it's like, shoot, that's not what men do.
It is, but you know what? The thing is this: who's bigger, your appetite for sex, your lust for sex, or the pit of fire for you to burn in hell for eternity? Who's bigger?
That's the way to look at it. I certainly agree on that.
That's the way I looked at it. Listen, man. God is the end all be all. He is the creator, and what His word says is what is law. So everything that we have here now is just we dealing with it from this shell that we have. But when this shell is gone, our souls carry on. So when your soul carries on, the things that we do now are the things that we predict for our soul right now. So if we're not doing the right thing, we know where our soul is going. Period. Point blank. So with that being said, who's the bigger person? Is it lust? Are you going to let lust control you? That's just with anything. And these things are demons. There's a lust demon. There's a promiscuity demon. It's a bunch of demons out here. Depression is a demon. Anger is a demon. But the thing is if you go to God and you talk with God and you sit and you have your conversation and you be humble, He'll let you know what these feelings are and He'll let you know how to address them.
Valerie raised a good point. She said, because some people think if they wait and sex was bad, they stuck. Let me address that. Because Val being my sister, we run from the same cloth. Understandable. That's how I used to think, because of the fact that sex was important. My thing was, sex is very important, and I'm not marrying nobody I can't have sex with, because if they ain't good, then, as you said, Val, you're stuck. But here's the thing. If it's made by God, it's going to be good anyway. God is going to work. That's what my husband told me. And honestly, when he first said that, I was thinking, yeah, okay. But the fact is, it was true. It was true. If it is made by God, because that's what we're talking about, really. You're talking about having God in your life, period. We tend to put God in a box. We tend to have Him around when He's convenient for us. But if we really put God in our life, period, for anything and everything, then and trust Him, then if He chooses and gives us our gift of our mate, it's going to be good, because He's going to make it that way.
That's right.
Because He's building our gift of our a better half for us.
And you know what? Here's the thing with that. We're saying that, you do want to know, like they say, society's people say, yeah, you need to test drive that car before you buy it. You know what I mean? You do want to have sex with a woman or a man before you get married, because then you think, like Val said, if we get together and it ain't good, oh boy. But here's the thing: what if you got together and something happened to where you can't be intimate and have sex? Then what do you have if that's all your relationship was built on? So now you get old by yourself and you do all of these things and you're alone. What about a walk in the park with somebody that truly loves you? What about the joy of holding someone's hand? What about the joy of just sitting and having a conversation with somebody that you truly love, to look into their face and then look into your face and tell you that they really love you? And because you can't have sex, then all of us, there's nothing there?
Valerie says you got to have that kind of commitment for God. Unfortunately, most don't. You are a deeper level, Frank. Then she said, but it might not be good or as good as you are used to. Then you have to operate on love and commitment.
And you know what? Okay, I understand that too. But you know something? With that being said, even if sex isn't what you're used to with the new person that you're with or whatever, and they're not into things that you know may have been into. I believe in my heart that when you pray and invite God into your bedroom after you're married, then those things that you saw in someone or those things that you did with other people, you know, God to me, God can remove those things and you can have new and better with the one that you're with. You understand? Because there's no, God is a miracle worker. He is a miracle worker. And as long as you lean and depend on him as he tells you to, then I don't believe that there's nothing, you know, like God's word says your marriage bed should not be defiled.
And also, you know what, Val?
So that's
love makes sex. Sex doesn't make love.
Right.
And from experience, what I got from it, by me doing it, what I learned is that if you are deep enough in love, something that God ordains, then it will be as great as anything, and better than anything you ever had, because of the fact that it was ordained by God. It is love there. So anytime you make love, it is actually making love. Anytime you love that person and you're making love to that person, it's greater than any sexual experience you have had, because of the fact that it's genuine. It is actually love. It's not separate, because we and outside of the one that God has chosen for us, it becomes a separate thing. It becomes sex. It becomes a relationship. It becomes commitment. But when it's something that God has chosen, all that is one.
Exactly.
All that is not separate. It's not, okay, this is, now we're having sex and now we're dealing with commitment. All of it becomes one. You're filled with all of it at one time. And that's what makes it. It's just about, like you said, it's about having a deeper understanding of God and trusting him. Because believe me, it is not easy to just, taking away all that, it's not easy just to trust him fully. That's hard in itself. And let's be real. No matter how much we proclaim we love God, to actually fully trust him is not an easy thing, because we are of flesh. And so when
your faith will waver.
Yeah, your faith will waver. And so when you just like, God, I'm going to trust you and put it all in your hand, that is on a different level. It is on a different level, and it becomes a totally different thing. But once you make the discovery of it, it is a beautiful thing. I look at my husband every day and go, wow, wow. Wow, I am so amazed. I actually am in love with this man, and it is beautiful. And this is something that God did. I love every inch of him. I love everything about him. And that's not to say that we don't have our disagreements. That says that the commitment, the love, everything is right there because God made it so.
Exactly.
God made it so, not us. It wasn't by our hands, because honestly, if it was by my hands, it would have probably never been. I would have screwed it up a long time ago.
I would have too. And see, a lot of people don't know either that we've been connected 6 years or better. Like, a lot of people don't know that we've known each other for 6 years. You know, well, including this year now, but, you know, it's just, you know, you have to decide in your mind and decide in your heart what you want. Either you want a pacifier and keep doing the same thing over and over and over, you know, and just having a pacifier for the moment. And having a pacifier for the moment, sometimes it seems good, but once that moment is up, can you genuinely lay down with a smile on your face and feel that you've gone through that day or that moment truly happy, and go to sleep truly happy and wake up the same way? You know,
exactly.
I mean, these are some things that you have to ask yourself as you get older and as you're dealing with relationships and marriage and things like that. I was told by an older gentleman, he said, make sure that you marry someone that's in love with you. You know how important that is? To marry someone that's in love with you. You know, people get married. You know, we may not want to face facts, but people get married for all the wrong reasons sometimes. You know, some people get married. I'm not going to say everybody, and I don't want to put a stigma on marriage like it's a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm basking in my marriage every day with you. It's a beautiful thing. But, oh boy.
Okay, y'all, sorry, I had a moment.
She's crazy. She's crazy. She's crazy. But, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And when God ordains marriage, there's nothing that you don't love about that person. Because at the end of the day, he gives you what you need, not what you want. He gives you what you need.
And you find that your needs are more important than your wants. Because at one point you think your wants are more important. And
you have no idea.
Yeah, when you realize that your needs are more important, you actually are, you hallelujah, you know, you're glorified.
Amen.
Valerie made a point though. She said that for some of them, sex is used to bury other things, and you're right, Valerie, and that's the point of this topic, because, like I said, you know, it was inspired by a friend of mine, and it's true that we use sex to bury deeper issues. I've done it myself. You know, I'll be the first to admit I've done it myself, but what the point of it is that's why you shouldn't try to rush into a relationship, because, as I said, you know, when you get old, you feel like I want somebody to grow old with, you know, I want somebody compatible, you know, I'm tired of being alone. So people tend to rush into relationships because of those reasons and have not dealt with the deeper issues within themselves. It takes two adults, and I say adults because, hey, I'm 51 years old, and honestly, this is the most mature adult relationship I have had in all of my 51 years. And I do not take it lightly, because that was a very hard thing for me to have an adult relationship, because it either was I was adult and they wasn't, or they was adult and I wasn't trying to be. And so when you come to the point where both of y'all are adults, and you have to be at a point where you have looked inside of yourself and you do know your weaknesses and your issues, and you are dealing with them, or you have dealt with them.
And also being able to accept, you know, criticism.
I'm not 52, Valerie. My birthday not till August. Don't be putting me out there like that. Let's not go there. Okay, Miss 54. I'm sorry. I had another moment, y'all. Because, you know, sometimes sisters will push you, you know. I ain't that spiritual yet. God is yet working with me, okay? No. Okay. I'm sorry. She gonna put out there I'm 52. You know how I feel about stuff like that.
Well,
I'm not, baby. Oh, see, next topic ought to be when your man disagree about your age and trying to call you old. But anyway, go ahead. What would you say? He don't even know what he was saying.
My slippers are totally gone. Took my slippers, won't walk me.
It was Valerie's fault. She just took us to another level. Anyway, the point is that you have to know, and honestly, that's a part of being celibate, because I was celibate before for a time, and which helped me to mature. People think celibacy is all about, and believe me, I'm not up here trying to get everybody to be celibate that's not married, but honestly, celibacy is not just about sex. It's deeper than that. It's almost like fasting, because it is a physical
it's a physical thing, but
it's a physical need.
Thing also.
Sex, but it's also mental. Like my sister Val said, people use that to deal with deeper issues.
Right.
So when you don't have that, when that is taken out the picture,
that becomes an issue itself.
Exactly. That becomes an issue, but it's also, you don't have no other choice but to face yourself. You have no other choice but to look at who you are. Believe me, I went through it and I felt like I was going through a tunnel of fire at times because I had to look at myself, deep in myself, and see. One of the questions my sister Catrice and I used to ask each other was, would you want to marry you? At that time, my answer was, oh, no. But at the same time, I couldn't figure out why nobody didn't want to be with me. If I can't be with myself and don't want to marry myself, why should I expect somebody else to want to marry me and be with me?
Exactly.
You know, I have to deal with myself. I have to love myself. I have to deal with my issues before I can go out there and expect someone else to want to deal with me and my issues or what I'm going through. A lot of times, especially women, and I had this conversation in another live feed I did. I'm not bashing women. I am a woman. I love myself. But a lot of time, we as women, we expect so much more from a man that we're not willing to give ourselves or admit to ourselves. Like I said before, we'll look for a man. We want a man with a Mercedes Benz, but we taking the bus. We on our feet. We want a man with $100,000 house, but we on welfare. I mean, no disrespect to those who need welfare. I'm just saying we have to look at ourselves sometimes and look what's inside of us and deal with us before we start expecting a man to deal with us. You know, I have a friend who's dating and she's insecure about herself, and if a woman look at the man's way, she's ready to bite his head off. He cannot control anybody else. He can only control himself. And for a woman to look at him or try to flirt with him is not his fault. Now, if he flirted back and disrespected her, that's one thing. But you can't get mad at a man. Do you really want an ugly man that a woman ain't looking at? I mean, if we be honest with ourselves.
You know what? It doesn't, like, that in itself, to me, we all have eyes. We're all going to see things that are attractive to us. So, I mean, really, if you're grown and you know that you're secure in yourself and you're secure in your marriage, if someone looks at you and say, oh, man, she's fine, I will start telling them, thank you. I know what I have. I got a beautiful wife. You understand? It's not for, yo, sucker, what you looking at? No, man, we ain't. I mean, you have eyes. You're going to look. You're going to look at someone else. I don't care what nobody says. You're going to always see something that's attractive to your eye. When you act on it, then when it becomes
another level.
Different. That's different. But, you know, if you see somebody and they walk by and you're gonna see something that's attractive to you. It's not impossible. It's not like it's never going to happen. So to get in an argument or, you know, a skirmish about that is ridiculous.
And another thing is you have to deal with the insecurities in yourself.
Right.
What makes you so insecure that you have to get mad every time somebody looks his way, or if he look? Like my husband said, you got eyes, you're gonna look. So it's natural to look at someone else, you know, not disrespectful, but it's natural. But why are you so insecure that upsets you? Because honestly, if you know who you are and you're good within yourself and you know what you had, you don't worry about somebody else.
It will not bother you.
And another point is, if a person gonna cheat or do what they're gonna do, there's nothing in the world you can do about it to stop it. They're gonna do it regardless.
That's right.
So what are you gonna do? Spend your life looking over that person's shoulder, chasing that person down, seeing that? That's not gonna stop a person of who they are.
And see, and then when you get into that, that's another point you just raised. Because once you get into checking and making sure that this person is not doing that, and checking and checking and checking, what happens to you with your life?
Yeah, where's your life?
What I'm saying? What happens to your life then? There's no happiness. There's no joy.
Because I'm going to tell you, I got too much going on with me to check after him.
But I'm just saying, all you're doing now is you're just following and waiting for that one moment so you could jump out and pounce. What happens when you never get that moment? And then, God forbid, something happens to that man. Look at all the time that you've wasted trying to blame something or trying to catch him or trying to catch her, because it's not just the man, but it's on both sides. Trying to catch that person doing something wrong. With that, I mean, look at all the time that you've spent, all of that negative energy that you spent trying to make sure or try to catch or make sure this is good and he's not doing this or she's not doing that, right?
Yeah, and if you don't trust the person, you shouldn't be with them anyway. Yeah, you shouldn't be with somebody that you feel like you can't trust, because that's just causing a whole nother, it might cause you health issues, because you sitting up there worried about what that person is doing every time that person walk out the door.
Worryation turns into stress.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have this thing, and yes, it's from Medea, but I truly believe it. I'm 51 years old, and if I can't have peace in my home at this age, I'm going to have to get a piece and make some peace. That's what I always say. But really, honestly, seriously, I'm going to have peace in my home at 51. I've earned that right to have peace in my home. So why would I have somebody in my home that's going to cause me drama or cause me stress? It's not worth it. Life is too short, especially these days and time. We got too many other things, too much other drama going on to deal with, to have to deal with our own home and not trusting of what's in our own home.
Whether you're 51, 31, 21, 91, 81, your home is your sanctuary. Your home is your peace. If you can't have peace in your home, something's wrong. And what you need to do is get rid of the things that are not peaceful in your home.
Get rid of the cancer. Get rid of the cancer.
You talk to God and you, Lord, listen, I need peace here. And give me what to say. Give me how to react toward what it is that I need to get rid of. Because it has to go. I'm not going to be unhappy and not have peace in my home where I dwell. This is where I lay down at. This is where my comfort zone is. And I'm not going to deal with not having peace here.
And some people are not, I know that everybody is on a different level with God. And so some people might not be on that level yet. But here's the thing. Even if you're not on that level, think about yourself. Think about how you want to live. Here today, gone tomorrow. You could be gone tomorrow. So think about that. Do you really want to spend what the remaining time you have, however long or however short it is, miserable or unhappy or settling? Because we do this as women a lot. We settle because we are afraid. We settle because of insecurities. But we're not really happy. I do not believe that you should have to settle. Be who you are. And I don't believe in pretenses either. I don't believe in phoniness either. Just like I said earlier, if you don't cook, all of a sudden you cooking just to try to impress this man to keep him. Because you got to think about it. What you do to try to impress him to keep him, you got to keep it up. Because somewhere along the way, the truth is going to come out. And then you're still going to be miserable and unhappy. My husband and I, even though we were friends first and he knew me, when it went to another level, I reiterated with him. There's certain, I'm like this. You remember I'm like this, right? Because I don't want, it's like, here I am. This is how I am. I'm for real. So let me know what you can deal with and what you can't deal with, so we'll know whether to take this thing further or not. Ain't nobody mad at each other. It's like, can you deal with this? And he was the same way with me.
There's nothing wrong with having conversation. That's grown up.
Exactly.
That's
Conversation.
And without conversation, there's no communication. Without communication, there's no relationship. Because if you don't know, you're blind. And you don't want to walk into something blind. So you need to have a conversation, and those questions that are on your mind, you need to ask those questions, whether they seem far-fetched to someone else, or they may seem strange to someone else, or the question might feel like, I don't want to ask this because it's awkward. Maybe not now. I'm not going to say no. When it's time to sit down and have that conversation, you need to put all the cards on the table, because if you plan on going further with this, you need to know every inch of what you're dealing with, and be happy with it. And if you're not happy with it, those topics can be discussed. And if you feel like this is something that you think you can deal with, just know once you get into it, this is something you thought you could deal with. So you can't get mad because it was spoken about before everything happened. You decided to get into it. We talked about it. You knew that I didn't like chocolate ice cream. I know you love chocolate ice cream. So every time you go to the store, you're getting a gallon of ice cream. So why should I get an attitude about you getting chocolate ice cream? Because I said when we first had our discussion that, okay, you love chocolate ice cream? Okay, get it anytime you want. Now you buying it all the time. Why would I get an attitude? Why would I get an attitude? I'm not going to say I don't have the right, but you don't have any ground to stand on if this is what she told you in the beginning. And you said, oh, okay, well, I can deal with that. No doubt. Chocolate ice cream, that ain't nothing. But now when she's spending money on chocolate ice cream, you already knew it. Now you getting the attitude? Bro, come on.
And that's another thing for us women, because we're good for this. I talked in my other live feed about how women they can't handle the truth. So the going consensus is men lie. But it's not that men lie, it's that they are afraid. They have been conditioned that they're afraid of the repercussions, because when they do be honest, we don't deal very well. We ask the question but don't want the answer to it. Don't ask the question if you don't want the answer to it, because honesty is always the best policy in my eyes. Good, bad, or indifferent. And if it's somebody that loves you, you're not going to be 100% in agreement on everything, but your security is in that he loves you. He's a gift from God. So if you're asking him, do I look fat in these jeans, and he be honest and say, yeah, don't get mad at him. He's being honest with you. What do you mean? Be happy that he's loved you enough to be honest with you. If you ask him,
and that's vice versa. That's with the woman too. That's what the woman, being honest with the man.
Yeah, don't ask a question that you're setting yourself up for a fall. People ask questions and they don't get the response they request, and then they're all mad, and then it causes an argument, and that's just ridiculous. Some arguments, some things are avoidable. Simple. If you can't handle the truth or what's going to come from the answer, don't ask the question. Leave it alone. That's like women going looking for something. It's like you going in your man's wallet. What you looking for? Or and when he turn his back, you pulling up the phone. You are looking for something. You are asking for an argument or a fight or drama.
And that comes from not having trust.
Exactly. That means you don't have trust. And why are you in the relationship if you don't trust him?
Exactly.
Simply, if you want to know something that you're going to be able to handle the answer, ask the question. If you don't feel like you got the truth, if you feel like he's lying and you can't deal with lies, get out. Get out.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, the reason why I say get out is because what happens is you sell yourself dreams. You're not happy with something, but you say, oh, maybe I could change him, or maybe I can deal with it. And once you start something, it's going to continue. That's why they say hitting ain't hitting. If you get hit once, he's going to hit again. Because once you accept that first time of forgiveness, it will happen again, and it will happen again, and it will happen again. So if it's something you can't deal with in a relationship, the best thing for everybody, get out. Find something else. There's someone out there for everyone.
I'm going to say this. Every relationship is not going to be perfect.
No.
And every day is not going to be peaches and cream. The best thing I would say, I'm not going to tell any married couple to get out, because that's not my
So
place.
you're trying to say that we perfect, baby? We're not perfect, baby?
We're not.
We are perfect. What are you talking about? See, that was a good example. What do you mean we're not
perfect? But with that being said, I can't. It's not my place to tell a married couple, oh, you should break up.
I'm not saying a married couple. I meant
listen,
before you get married.
Okay, before you get married. The thing is that you have to ask yourself if that's what you want to deal with. Period. Period. Point blank. If you want to deal with that, that's cool. If it gets to be too much, and there's a mutual understanding and a mutual agreement between each other, and you truly do love that person, my suggestion, instead of just getting out, is why don't you grab that person by the hand and both of y'all pray about it? If this is somebody you really want to be with, and sometimes you can't come to that understanding. You know, sometimes you may ask a person a question and they don't understand it, right? And then they ask you a couple of days ago about, a couple of days go by and they ask you the same question. It's like, you just asked me that question a couple of days ago.
He talking about me,
Oh,
y'all. He talking about me, y'all. He act like I can't see. Okay, now y'all gonna really see the Hatchett Chronicles. Okay.
But seriously.
Let's talk about that. Yeah, that's a good subject to raise.
No, it is, because sometimes you'll ask me a question and I'll answer the question. But my understanding the answer that I gave you was to your understanding, but it wasn't. And then you'll ask me a couple of days after that the same question, but in a different way. And sometimes, like before we had the discussion on that and talked about it, I would get frustrated. Like, babe, didn't you just ask me this a couple of days ago?
Because of assumption.
Right?
Because of assumption.
Right, but then what happens is, we did that one time and you said to me, why are you getting frustrated? Because I'm like, you just asked me that question a couple of days ago. Now you're asking me again. I thought I told you already, or I thought I explained it to you. You said you explained it, but my understanding, I wasn't getting the full thing, which made me stop in my and say, okay, she was just getting part of what I was saying. So now what you need to do is explain yourself in length with that subject, so this way there's an understanding about the whole thing. Because if you don't, that'll keep happening, and then it's a false anger because it's a miscommunication.
And that was the point. The point was that that's the issue rather that he raised, because sometimes we can get caught up in society. We get a miscommunication with our other half. Like for instance, because he thought I was being the typical woman who just keep asking questions, same question over and over, especially during movie time. And me, in getting caught up with society, it's like, well, he's a man. Men don't like to answer questions, and they get upset because women talk too much and men don't. You know that thing, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. That's a load of bull. First of all, it was assumption on both our part, when all we had to do was have a conversation, communicate, which we ended up doing. But my assumption was that he was just getting frustrated because I asked a bunch of questions. His assumption was I asked a bunch of questions and it was that's it. I just keep asking the same question over and over, and I'm not listening to him when he answered it the first time. But when we sat down and we communicated and we understood what the real issue was, that took away the problem.
And we haven't had that since. And mind you, 9 months in, everything is still fresh. No argument, no nothing.
Not one argument. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Yes, Lord is good.
That's a good thing.
That is an excellent thing. And
another thing, pray.
And that's why we haven't had an argument, really, because that's where we take our complaints. As I've stated so many times, because I believe what I believe that the Bible states the head of the household is the man, and the head of a man is a Christ. And because I went to God for this man, and this is my gift from God, when I have a problem with him, which raised another issue, but we're going to cut it because we've been on here kind of long, but raise another issue that, when have a problem, like when I have a problem with him, I take it to the Almighty Father, because this is my gift from God. He's my gift from God. So if I have a problem with my gift, if you buy a gift for a person and the person have a problem with it, do they take it to a girlfriend or somebody? They take it back from where they got it from, right? I take it to God. I take it to God when I have a problem with him.
Mhm.
And he does the
And I do
same.
the same thing.
And we pray together to God for answers. So this, and I have my 8 spoon coons through my girl. Oh, that's an old saying. I'm showing my age. 8 spoon coon. Shh. Anyway, but I have my
Thought you wanted to argue with Val.
It slipped.
Tell it on yourself. Val, I got your back, sis. I got your back.
But I have my sisters, my friends, but I don't go running every time I have a problem with him, go running to my girlfriend, this man did this and men is this. I don't have a man bashing party.
I wanna say something on that, and then we could close this out, right? I'm glad you said that, because whenever you keep a lot of people in your relationship, it never works.